I'm in a place called Wadi Karar. That means the sound of the running water. And this is a place in the country of Jordan. According to tradition, this is where John the Baptist, baptized Jesus. Right now I'm walking on the Via Dolorosa. According to ancient tradition, the Via Dolorosa, the Way of Sorrows, is the path that Jesus walked while he carried the cross all the way from Pilate's Praetorium, which is up there, to Mount Calvary, which is down there. What you're looking at there is a tower that existed in Herod's palace back 2,000 years ago. Right now I'm at a place called Tel Hadar on the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee. This is where Jesus fed the 4,000. You know, right behind me here is something called the Tabka Spring. This is one of the source waters for the Sea of Galilee, and it's probably a landmark that was very well known to Jesus and his disciples. I'm standing in the Synagogue Church in Nazareth, and back in the first century, this building was a synagogue. The water was not still. The water that he was walking on, the waves were like 2 feet high. Right now I'm standing on a cliff right above what we call the Shepherd's Field. This is the field that the shepherds were in on the night that Jesus was born. This comes from the Sermon on the Mount. Well, actually, this is the Mount of Beatitudes. I am standing on the very spot that Jesus stood on when he spoke these words for the first time 2,000 years ago. The reason this church is so significant is because according to tradition, it is here that Jesus met Martha and Mary on his way to the tomb of Lazarus. There is a story in the merged Gospels which takes place right from this spot. As a matter of fact, right down here, if you can bring the camera down, look at this. This is called the seat of Jesus. It is believed that Jesus actually sat right here. Right now I'm walking on an old Roman road in the middle of the old city of Jerusalem. I'm walking in the ancient ruins of Qumran. Qumran was a Dead Sea community that thrived about the time that Jesus was alive. This is Herod's palace in Caesarea by the sea. Now Herod ruled from this palace. Also his great-grandson Herod Agrippa II ruled here when Paul the Apostle was tried by him in this palace. Here's what I think. This room that you're looking at right here is a very large palace room. I think Paul the Apostle was tried in this very room. I'm descending right now into the Pool of Siloam. For many years, there was the traditional Pool of Siloam over about 50 yards behind me. All the pilgrims and photographers would go there and get their pictures. And then they found this place, the actual Pool of Siloam. I'm in the port city of Caesarea by the sea. This city was built by Herod the Great before Christ was born. Now the Mediterranean Sea is off in that direction there. But that's not the way it was 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago, the Mediterranean Sea came right up here. This is a staircase that leads down to the sea, and any ship sailing on the Mediterranean from Caesarea would have had to have docked right here. Anybody getting on one of those boats would have stood right where I'm standing. The reason I'm telling you that is because this is where the Apostle Paul stood when he left Israel for the very last time to sail to Rome. When Paul was tried here in Caesarea and put on a boat because he appealed to Caesar, he went from this very spot. That means that Paul the Apostle stood right where I am standing 2,000 years ago. Hidden here among all of this brush is a prize that very few people have ever seen. This is the ancient town of Capernaum. This is the town that Jesus knew. Most of Capernaum has never been excavated. The tourists have never seen what you're seeing here. These walls here, this was an ancient home. This was the home of someone that Jesus knew. He walked on these streets. He did miracles here. He may have even been in this home at one point. This is a home that is 2,000 years old. This probably looks very much like the home of Mary and Martha or Simon the leper. Right now I'm sitting on the cliff of Mount Carantal, overlooking the city of Jericho there to the east. When the Holy Spirit led Jesus into the wilderness, he led him here first. I'm in the village of Bethany. Bethany is just to the east of the Mount of Olives, about 15 stadia away from the old city of Jerusalem. And this is the tomb of Lazarus. Right behind me is the mountain of the miracle of the swine. This is where Jesus cast demons into the swine, and they ran off that cliff right back there and ran down into the Sea of Galilee. What you're looking at is the Jordan River. We're on the east side of the Jordan River in the country of Jordan. That's Israel over there. This is Jordan over here. Right now I'm standing on the banks of the Jarmuth River. The Jarmuth River separates the country of Israel that we're standing in right now from the country of Jordan, which is that country over there. Right now, I am in the city of Nablus. The ancient name, the biblical name, is Sychar. That's a city in the West Bank in Israel. What you're looking at right here is Jacob's Well. Right now we're going up to Hippos. There's an easier way to get up there, and that's driving. But we're not going the easy way. We're going the way Jesus went. We are in the ancient port city of Tiberias. Tiberias was the seat of power for Herod Antipas. He was the son of Herod the Great. He ruled from this town, and he had a palace right here. Now, until recently, we didn't know exactly where Herod's palace was, but most scientists now believe that I'm standing in it. There's a glass floor right here, and if you look through this floor, you can actually see the floor of the home of Simon Peter. This is the seashore at Capernaum. This is the place where Jesus preached a lot of his sermons and did a lot of his miracles. It was a place of prayer and solitude. I think Jesus probably frequented it a lot because it gives him a chance to pray by himself, and there's nobody around. It's right here. This is the Eremos Cave. It is the place where we believe Jesus spent the night right before he preached the Sermon on the Mount. What you're looking at here is the Church of the Nativity. This is Bethlehem that we're in. And this is the traditional spot of the birth of Jesus Christ. Inside this church is the grotto of the Nativity, where Jesus was born. Right behind me is the Damascus Gate here in Jerusalem. This is the Old City, and this is the gate that enters the Arab quarter of the Old City. Now, when Jesus entered the city from this side, he didn't go through this gate because this gate is relatively new. Luke accompanied Paul, and most scholars believe that Luke wrote the Gospel of Luke from this very town. While Paul was a prisoner here, Luke took eyewitnesses, sources, maybe writings, maybe eyewitnesses, maybe people who were right here in the land of Israel who knew Jesus, and he wrote the Gospel of Luke based on their testimonies. Right now I'm walking through the Pool of Bethesda in the Old City of Jerusalem. There were actually two pools of Bethesda. We are walking in the northern pool. I'm standing near a very busy street in Nazareth in Israel, and I'm standing in front of the Church of the Annunciation. According to the most faithful traditions, this is the place where the Archangel Gabriel met Mary and told her that she was going to be the mother of the Messiah. If you study the scriptures and study all the vectors and all the clues given to you in the Bible, it's very difficult to come to any other conclusion other than the feeding of the 5,000 happened somewhere around right here. Now, when Jesus was done preaching and feeding the 4,000, it says he got into a boat. Well, that must have been somewhere around right here. So here's the shoreline of the Sea of Galilee. Getting into a boat must have been somewhere in this basic vicinity. Right now I'm standing in the Nazareth Village. This is a village which is made to look like an ancient first century village in Nazareth, the kind of village that Mary and Joseph lived and Jesus was raised in. Right now I'm walking on the Temple Mount in the eastern part of the Old City of Jerusalem. Behind me, of course, you can see the Dome of the Rock. The Muslims have a different name for this place, though. They call it Haram al-Sharif. That's translated the Noble Sanctuary. You see, the Muslims believe that the rock, which is at the very base of the Dome of the Rock, that's where Muhammad was standing when he was taken up into heaven on his famous night journey where he received revelations from God in heaven. Well, the Jews have a different take. What the Jews believe, and of course most Christians as well, is that the footprint of the temple was where the Dome of the Rock is right now, and that the rock is the place where the Holy of Holies was.